Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of the Visionary Circle podcast. It's me and my lovely co-host, Mr. Sergio, and we're always trying to, like a magician with a hat, trying to pull up new guests in sectors that you've never imagined that will provide you with value that you weren't expecting. Every episode thus far has been a creative, has been an artist, an entrepreneur. We've never actually, we've never dived or dove into the corporate world. And today we have a very special guest that's going to take us on this journey into the corporate world. With us today is Fadi. He is a leader and management director in retail. Welcome, Fadi.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for being here. This is a big one for a lot of us because there's always been this not like a feud or a war, but there's two kind of schools of thought when it comes to how you pursue a career. And living in California, having places like Hollywood, having music be such a big thing, artists flourish and thrive in California. And the opposing viewpoint is like, no, like don't go the artistic route, go the career route, go into the corporate world. And I feel like they're two different languages. I feel like people in the corporate world look at us like, how are you living? How are you able to pay your rent? And then we look at them and like, how are you living without any creative tendencies or any form of creative fulfillment? And then I meet you, and you work in a very company, and I'd love for you to give us the intro on the company you work in. But you lead a huge number of people, and the way you speak about leadership makes me feel like you're doing something that is creatively fulfilling to yourself, despite being in the corporate world. So tell us a little bit about what company you work with and how you got into that world.
Yeah. So, currently I'm working for Target, and I've been running a store for about 6 years now. So it's obviously a lot of people that we do lead, and it's a fun environment. So how did I get into it? So after college, I did an internship with Target, and I loved it so much. My goal was to work with people. And I knew that in itself fulfilled me a lot. I didn't want to be behind a desk because, I think I would go crazy sitting behind a desk. So, I was like, you know what? I didn't think retail was the place that I was going to be. But I did value that it was going to be within business since I studied marketing. And to me, that was important. So business and people. And so did an internship with them. I loved working there. I love the leadership environment. I love the people. I love being able to support such a massive operation and learn from how do you lead people, but also how do you lead a massive operation from day to day. So I've been with Target for about 10 years now. And it's crazy. It's been 10 years because I feel like time flies, and I feel like I just graduated college. I've done various roles, obviously, within Target to get to where I'm at today, but it's definitely been fun, and I'm excited to dive more into it.
Hell yeah, man. That's very, very exciting for me. And it's an eye-opener for me because, again, like I always thought that the corporate ladder or the corporate world is where you go to bury your dreams. That's honestly been my opinion for most of my life, and it's cool to hear that you have this fulfilling role in leadership. I'm very heavily involved in the wedding space, and I feel like that out of all the things that we do as filmmakers, photographers, the thing that puts us in the world of team building and having to manage people is weddings, because you can't handle a wedding on your own. And that's usually when I explore my leadership capabilities, my shortcomings, my struggles, my inabilities to connect with people. How do I come off as firm, but not too firm that people don't want to work with you anymore? There is no clear structure for hiring people in a wedding, so people can work with you once and never work with you again. But at the same time, there's people that I've worked with and they've worked with me for years on end.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm excited to learn more about like how you maintain a team, how you choose, someone to work with. I imagine that before you took a role in leadership, you were led by somebody. Without talking about who that person was or how many people that there were, what were some things that you noticed that you felt like, all right, I learned a lesson from this. Maybe I want to change this. I want to correct this.
Yeah. I think, anywhere you go, whether it be corporate or, even working at a coffee shop, like you're going to work for somebody, and there's value in the person that you're working with. I go back to, my first few jobs even, and the managers that I had, I've worked in retail, I've worked in restaurants, I've worked at a coffee shop. And so when I think back at some of the mistakes that I saw happen and I felt those things, was when I made a mistake, whether that be, running food to the wrong table or, something small. I remember how my manager at that moment reacted to what my mistake. And I remember just, and this happened in front of people. And so we were standing there and I got coached in front of at the time, the customers. And I remember looking back as I got into leadership and I told myself, I'll never do that. And to me, it's important in how we treat people, and building that trust. And so, there's a difference between being a boss and like a manager and being a leader. Because a boss is, you think that people are going to follow you just because of your position. But, unfortunately, people don't do that anymore. People follow you because of what you've done for them, what you've done for the company. And that's how they build trust in you and how you take care of them. And so, to me, that was a big lesson, even just before I even got into Target. As I got into, my role and just even as an executive within Target, there's a lot of learnings that you have just by observing and looking. There's good things that you can take from people and there's things that you leave behind. And so I think for me, the biggest lesson I wanted to take from just seeing my bosses is I saw how they brought people together. I saw that, I didn't want to work for them just because of, what they do on a day-to-day basis, but of who they are, and how they treated me. And so, and it's also times that you make mistakes. And when you do make mistakes, what does your boss do? Are they going to reprimand you for that mistake? Or are they going to come alongside you and say, hey, it's okay that you made a mistake? And now that I think about it, as I become a leader of, and I have a team with me and I have a lot of team members, I'm okay with people making mistakes. And I actually push for them to make mistakes. And so there might be times where my team will come to me and say, hey, I have this idea. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. But I want to create a safe place for them to make mistakes before they get to another role. And those mistakes may be costly. And so now I build this environment around myself where it is okay to make mistakes in a controlled space. And so even though that might not be the best decision, I'm going to let them do it. And, I might not be right either. And that's okay. And I don't want to be right all the time, because if I'm right, then, they don't have the curiosity to make decisions. They don't have the boldness. They don't feel like there's a safe place to do those things. And so I think the environment of creating a good space for them to make mistakes is okay. And when they do make it, it's how do you come alongside them and talk them through that mistake?
I absolutely love that.
Man, that's incredible. Yeah. It makes me want to apply to Target, bro. That's awesome. Yeah. And aside from, like Leo was saying, aside from someone maybe teaching you how to lead or you seeing the mistakes, is there anything else that has maybe inspired you to become a leader with those kind of that kind of mindset?
Yeah. I think
whether it's books or anything like that.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and
we gotta stop. We gotta stop because
just this one you listen to, right?
You listen to Visionary
Yes,
Circle
yes,
podcast.
yes.
We had this conversation.
I read a lot of books. Is that good?
You can read anything you want, brother. Until we start publishing books.
There we go. We're done. We're good. To me, sorry. So your question is, where do I take inspiration?
Yeah.
There's a quote that I always comes back to me. And this one is, helps me kind of lead my team and lead the people that are around me, but also influence and care about the people that are around me. It's not the people. Sorry. It's, oh my goodness. Of course, it's going to go out of my head.
Yeah.
It's not the person that's in charge. It's the people that are in your charge. And so when we think about the people that are around us, like, how do we take care of the people? It's not that you're in charge and people are going to follow you. It's about who's in your charge, who's the team that you have, and how do you take care of them? And so when I think about the team that I have and the teams around me, we create an environment of, making each other better. And that's what inspires me, is seeing them succeed. And when you think about it, like you talk about a corporate setting, I see it. I don't see a corporate setting. I see people that are around me. And when you walk into a building or any retail or any corporate environment, you see people. And that's important. I think when we see it as the people that are leading, and the people that are working there, I think you get a different sense of the company in itself. And so when I think about the team, that's what inspires me. When they do great, when they continue to grow, when they learn from their leadership mistakes, that to me is the most important thing, and that's what drives me, because I want to see them succeed. Because I can't succeed on my own, and if you don't have a team around you that's also has the same mentality as you do, and they feel it's safe in the environment, then they're able to be bold and make decisions that'll push us all forward. It's like a big ship. You need a lot of people to move the ship. Yeah. And so when you have a lot of people supporting that movement, you get a lot of good things.
And is there a time where you remember where, as a leader, maybe first time leader, like, early leader, that something happened where it was like, oh, this was great. This was like, as a team, as a collective, we did this.
Yeah. There's, you set out a lot of goals. And I think about when you go into a new environment, something more specific, like you go into a new environment, maybe it's a new store, and there's a lot of things that you want to accomplish. A lot of times, I recently read this book, it's called Good to Great, and they talk about the flywheel effect. And the flywheel effect, you just imagine this massive wheel and you're trying to move it. At the beginning, it's going to be super hard to move it. You're not going to do a lot of movement. And so what I mean by that is, like, when you go into a new environment and you see a culture that needs change or an operation that needs change, it's important to start with the details. It's important to start with the people. And so when I think about, a new environment, I think about the people, I think about the culture, and I think about doing the small things and routines routinely. And so to me, that in an environment that's new, and I'm going into a new environment, those are the three things. It's like, how do we get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, the right people in the right seats, to get the bus moving. And when you start putting those things together, and it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes mistakes. But what's important in those mistakes is that you take time to make decisions, because when you are just quick to make some of those decisions, you might not make the best one. And so I think that was an early lesson that I made from a mistake, is that I made a decision way too fast and it cost me a long term. And so when going into a new environment, I think that's important, is like, how do we make the small decisions, but also make them slowly? And when you start putting people in the right place, things start to move a little bit more. And so that flywheel is slowly starting to move. And when you have the right people around you, things start to happen. And they start to influence the team that you have, and they start to do the same thing you're doing, and that flywheel starts to continue to move. So, hope that answered the question.
100%. Yeah. So you build momentum.
Correct.
And the flywheel is the team you're building. The more people you put in place, the more motion you create, it starts to reinforce itself. I love that. So you look so young, bro, and I've recently learned that you're a father of two beautiful babies. Or children at this point, right? I can't say babies. So I want to know, how was it? Was there an overlapping in the skill set of fatherhood and leadership? And what patterns or similarities did you kind of cross reference?
Yeah. There's a quote that comes to mind, and it goes like this: "Great humans make great leaders, and great leaders make great humans." And when I look at my kids, it has a lot to do with that. Like, I want to be a great human that, creates great leaders, but also creates great humans for the future. And so when I look at my kids, and I compare them a lot to my team as well, because you have to be okay with your kids. They're going to do things. They're going to touch things that they're not supposed to. They're going to make mistakes. And it's like, how you react in those moments is important. And that's training them for the future. It's like, as a kid, am I able to make a mistake? And am I perfect all the time? No, right? There's times when you catch yourself making mistakes, and how you react. But over time, when I first had my first kid, we had some things come up, and things get hard when you have a kid, and you have to, it's like a team effort. It's like you and your wife versus the child at times. It's like, how do we come together to make this happen? and so similarly in like the leadership is like, you can't react fast just because something happens. You have to be slow to react. And I feel like when I became a father, I got into a bigger role almost at the same time. And so there was mistakes happening all the time in how I was reacting, and even in the capacity in which I led. And so to me, the stuff that I have to do at home is, and even at work is like, you have to lead at a different level when you go from different positions. And so when you're still in the same mindset as like maybe a single dad, or you have kids, but you don't have kids and you're married, so you have to switch your mindset. You can't have your same lifestyle that you did before.
Yes.
And so same thing with like different positions as I grew within Target is when I, started to run a store, I made a lot of mistakes. And I always compare it to, I don't know if you guys have ever been rock climbing.
Of course.
Okay, so you've been rock. That's great. So when you go rock climbing,
I mean, on the fake walls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Does that apply?
We'll make it work.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'm still getting to know him, so it just shocks me. I'm like, Leo's done everything. Like, goodness.
He's a cyclist.
Yeah, cyclist,
he's a
dentist,
rock climber. He's a
magician.
dentist. He's a doctor. What can't you do?
He does it all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so when I think about leadership, I think about it almost in like a rock climbing. And so when you go to a rock climbing gym, with a lot of times what they do is they put you on the belay. And before you go, you start climbing, but they have you on belay. So if you fall, someone's going to catch you. And so when I remember going into my first role, and it's like going into a rock climbing gym and started to free climb. Like I didn't have a belay. I just started going up, and it's not a great place to be. There's no one there to support you, no one there to help you if you fall, no one there to guide you. So when I think about leadership, I think about, let's just start off on the rock climbing wall with the belay. And when you start going up, at least the person that's on the bottom maybe is a mentor that's a little bit more experienced than you. And that's helping you make decisions, right? And guiding you like, hey, put your hand here, or hey, don't make that talent decision. Or do this, maybe try that. And if you do make a mistake and you fall, like someone's got you. And so a lot of times, if you want to go on free climb, you can. It's just going to take a lot longer to get to where you want to get to.
Yes, I love that. It's interesting that you say that. I wanted to ask that question about fatherhood because I feel like we might not all be in the corporate world, but we've all experienced leadership. We've all experienced leadership in a parental role, in a teacher role, in life. Sometimes an officer is your leader, telling you, you shouldn't cross a red light, or you shouldn't do this while you're driving. And I've had enough experience in life to experience different types of leadership, and I'm starting to recognize what was good and what was bad. So the most primitive form of leadership would be like my grandma's leadership, which is like, I'm not talking about all grandmas. My grandma was not necessarily very well educated. She wasn't the best communicator. She wasn't the best planner. So her primitive way was the exact opposite of what you're describing. What you're describing is, let's make a safe space for someone to make mistakes so we could, you're planning. This is educated. This is professional leadership. My grandma's leadership would be, let them do things and scold them when they make a mistake. Yell at them when they make a mistake. A light beating when you make a mistake, right? Mm-hmm. And I always never understood why I'm getting punished for something that was not told to me that was wrong. Like, how am I going to be punished right now for doing this thing? Like, I remember she used to hang the laundry. She lived in like this farm style life, and she would hang the laundry on a rope, and I would take it off when it's wet or something. But you never told me not to. So why am I being punished because I did that? And it never made, even as a kid, it never made sense to me.
And you thought you were helping.
I just thought, like, no one said no.
Oh, okay.
Why can't I
testing the boundaries?
Testing the boundaries of what's okay and what's not. But like, if you never said no, why am I being punished for something? Like I always felt like this was a universal injustice. Like that's when I first realized that life is actually unfair because I'm being punished for something that nobody ever sat down and told me was no, right?
Right.
And then you start to realize that that's life in general. Like sometimes you break laws or rules, especially in uncharted territory. If you're at a theme park for the first time, or it's your first time in a theater, or your first time in a new country, you will have that grandma experience where, you know, in Singapore, you can't chew gum. And if you spit gum on the sidewalk, which and no one should do, but if you do, you go to jail for it, right? It's like I didn't expect for that to happen, but that's the consequence. And that's why I really appreciate the specialty of leadership, because you fix a very big problem for people, which is that problem I experienced. Like I need more people to see leadership the way you do, so that we don't end up with all these people that in my situation was, you know, a small little thing with my grandma. Some people turn into adults and don't understand the limitations of human boundaries, physical boundaries. Some people fall into domestic violence because they're not educated, and they end up spending a lifetime in prison because they weren't led properly. Nobody led them. You know what I mean? And I feel like we need more leaders, and we need to, I would love for leadership, this type of leadership that you're describing, to be more on a universal level where it's like, that's everybody. But that was just a random thought of mine. But yeah, I want to go into Target, right? And I know that there's limitations and things we can and can't talk about. I want to talk about Target as an experience that you have when you walk into Target.
Yeah.
Let's set aside that you work there at all. I just want to talk about it as a place. So to me, Target is this like, it's a place where I'm excited to go to when I get married. Like I feel like it's something about couples and like a little baby girl and just having her on a stroller and walking through Target.
Yeah.
Funniest thing ever. So I did one episode with a 5-year-old girl, and I did this episode like 3 months ago. And I was telling her, like, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And she's like, I'll buy toys. And I was like, where would you buy the toys from? And she goes, Target. And I'm like that's so crazy that even this little girl has an emotional connection to Target. And I see why. When I go to Target, you see the demographic of people that go there. It's usually middle-aged couples, maybe with or without a child. But it seems to be such a safe place for them. It's almost therapeutic for the women. A lot of my friends would be late to an appointment with me to go out and have fun or grab a bite because they had to take their wife to Target because they promised them earlier that week. You know what I mean? I want to know from your perspective, like what is Target culturally? What does it mean to people?
Yeah. I think it all goes back to it's bringing joy to everybody that walks in. And so how do we do that? You know, like when you walk in, it's more than just a retail environment. Like there's a connection that you have with Target in general. And so you can go there and you get everything that you need. But it's a clean environment. You walk in and people greet you. They it's like you feel like you're a guest at someone's house. And that's the mentality that when it comes to leading a store, that's what we want. We want to bring that in. And so to me, it's the small interactions that you have. And that's why I always bring it back to the people. And if you have the right people that are in your store, and just from, a Target in general, like we want to have the best people so we can give the guests the best experience that we can give them.
Yes.
And so to me, that's important. It's those interactions, those small interactions, the clean environment. They do a great job with just having great style. And so when you think about the brand, you think about how it brings, people say it's Target, like how do we continue that? That's Target's a great place, not only to work, but to shop. And so like, if you compare it to competitors, like to me, Target's like, I walk in, I get good things at the right price. I get a clean environment to come and shop. You want to get in,
by the way, you want to environment.
Exactly. You want to find what you're looking for, and you want to have a great experience, and that's what we strive to have.
And the ease of finding those things at any Target that you walk into. Target was one of probably, and this is more a personal thing, the top store that during COVID I could trust that if I needed a restroom, even to this day, I could go to Target.
We have
Target
everything you need, even the restroom.
Target will never make me feel guilty for not buying anything and going to a restroom, man. So it's the best. But we even have games going into Target where we go, all right, look, what do we need? The toothpaste. All right, that's all we're gonna come out with, right? Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Never
the layout
happens,
man.
Bro. Never happens. And we're not disappointed. We laugh about it at the end. We're like, all right, cool. Toothpaste costs us $100. That's cool. But because we spent a lot more on things. But yeah, like you said, it's very therapeutic, man. You walk in there, you know where things are, and you just like slowly walk around, browse around, and it's a cool experience every single time.
I'm glad to hear. And obviously I work there, right? Yeah. So to me, that's what we strive to have and bring as anybody that walks in. And so it's exciting to hear, because I love the brand, or else I wouldn't work there. I love being a part of the company. I think behind the scenes, I love it even more. With the people that I'm led by, people that I lead, people around me. And so you have this camaraderie together, and this like goal that you care about the people that are around you, but you care about the people that come into your store. And that's the environment that I appreciate. And that's why I have pride when I say, hey, I work at Target.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are in like the leadership role for companies. And the one thing that I noticed that is consistent is that it's not, they love it. They enjoy it. They love being the leader, but it's not stable as like, I'm going to live here for, so long or whatever. They're always moving around. Like the company, you if you do a good job, you're being put in every city, state. Did you experience that as well as you were coming up and being in the leadership?
Yeah. I've worked definitely at different stores. And so when you think about like, when you're in a position, let's say it's like 2.5 years, it's important to go into different environments as a leader to learn. From the different cultures that you might go into, the different business attributes that store might have. So it helps you develop your business skills, your leadership skills, but your adaptability with wherever you go. And so when, I've moved around probably to 4 or 5, stores at this point, and each one of them had, different things, different challenges that I had to face, and different roles. So you get to better understand the full scope of a store, and the company. And so to me that those are important things for any leader. It's like, if you're in a place for 2.5 years, 3 years, maybe a little bit more, it's important to get a different perspective too. And to challenge yourself. And a lot, I'm a very driven person. So I get comfortable. Like I don't get comfortable. I want to continue to do more. I want to continue to have that drive, continue to grow. And so, I've always had that mentality that like, if I don't go there to win, like I'm not going to go there at all. And so anytime that I go into a place, like my mentality is, how do I make myself better, but also the people better around me? So if I'm in a new store, it's like, I'm going to leave, but once I leave, I want to make sure that people around me are set up for success and they feel confident. And so whenever I got different roles, it built confidence in me. And the more mistakes I made, in a safe place, I was able to build that confidence. So then the mistakes start to get a little bit less and a little bit less. And so different environments help create that, and help create you into, it's like a puzzle. Like, every time you go into a new place, lead different people, different cultures, it's like a piece of the puzzle, and you get to understand different types of people. And that to me is fun. Right. And so that's what I would say in regards to that. I think it's just a fun place to be, where you get to kind of challenge yourself.
Yeah, the first time that I experienced that was my brother. So my brother's in the military, and he's in like that role of like, all right, for 2 years you're gonna be here. Your job is to fix this mess, and then he'd fix it, and then they would position him somewhere else, and then it's like, all right, your job. And when I first saw that, I was like, man, why would I want to leave what I just fixed? Like, I just fixed this. Like, and now you guys are going to put me in a crappy environment to fix this. And then I started to realize that that's probably, as a leader, the challenging, fun part of it all. You fix this place, and now your next challenge is going to be, okay, amazing job. We have this store. It needs to some, fixing. Can you do it? And that's probably like that fire inside of like, okay, let's do it. A new challenge, new area, time to learn, time to try to grow this spot. And then whoever you leave this with, they're like, hey man, don't mess this up. Yep, I just cleaned it up. Please keep it this way or make it better. Do you feel that like that too? Like, it's the fun of it all is also the challenge of it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the challenge is great because it continues to drive that, that something that's internal, that I feel like I have is like, I want to continue. I want to fix something. I want to help the people that are around me. But I think once you fix something, it's fun. And I feel like right now I'm in that environment where I feel like we've done a lot as a team. Once you fix it, you start to look around and you're like, man, that flywheel effect is like moving. And you see the joy that it brings the people because they're all winning. And so it's like, it takes time to get to that place. And I look around, I'm like, man, I love this. I love seeing all these people just excited and happy and motivated and want to push the bar forward. And it's fixed, right? Like, how do we keep it going? And now it stops being there's a moment where it stops being about you fixing it and it starts being about us fixing it. And then once we do fix it, we can look around and say, like, that wasn't just me. Like, we did this together. And they have this pride and this excitement that we did it. And yeah, of course, that driver in me, like, wants that next challenge, 100%. But then also you have to take time to slow down and enjoy it, right? Enjoy what enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Like, you've sowed it, you've watered it, you guys have done so much. Enjoy the fruit, let it sprout and eat some of it, like, enjoy it for a little bit. And I've never, in the last 10 years, I would say in the last 2 years, I've been able to see that. That's 8 years of work that I've had to kind of, it's investment in myself, the mistakes, the growth, the mentors that I've had. And then it's like, okay, take a moment, enjoy it, and enjoy it while it lasts until, God willing, whatever's next.
Right.
So
I love that. I love that you mentioned that you're a driven person. Having a personal motivation is super important as a leader. You have to have a strong why. You have to have a strong purpose. I'm curious as to what components make up that drive and what components make up your purpose. I know because we share a common origin, which is having Palestinian roots, living in foreign countries for a long period of time, that are in troubled scenarios, and having the opportunity to come to the United States and start a life here. Tell me a little bit about that, your upbringing, your roots, and how that's impacted you or your desire to do and give back and do the best possible job that you can do.
Yeah, I anytime I look at my roots, I think about my parents, and when we look at our parents or my parents in general, I think about how much they did. They had 4 kids. They moved from the Middle East to the United States for a better life, and to give us an opportunity and they were older. And so to me, I look at them and the challenges that they have, or had, and in moving to a new place, a new culture where you had to learn the language. And similar to me, when I came here, I was 8 years old. I didn't know a word of English. And I give credit, even my brothers and my sister. My 2 brothers are 2 and 4 years older than me. They didn't know any English. And I was 8, they were 10 and 12. And so that's even a bigger challenge for them, At least I was a little bit younger. It's still same challenges, but, I look at my parents and what they did when we moved to the U.S. and the opportunities that they gave us and the hard work. And I remember my dad would be working from morning to night. My mom would drop us off and go to work and then pick us up and go to, so like that to me, like, I wanted to create a better life. And also hopefully one day, God willing, I'll be able to give back to them too. The things that they've, sowed for me, and the challenges that they went through to bring us here and to give us opportunity. Like, I think about where I'm at now and the different cultures that I've had to encounter. And I think, to me, I'm blessed to know that I have parents that love me and care about me, that are willing to sacrifice, to move, across the country to build something new for us. And they're the true heroes. They're the they sacrificed, To me, that's why when I think about what I do and what I want to do, I think about, my sacrifices are nothing compared to what they had to do. And that gives me that drive because one day, God willing, I'll be able to support them.
Yes.
And with love and care. And whichever the way that looks like, that's the hope. And I do it from the beginning, like I have that motivation because like you did this for me. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to build a better life and continue to do that for my children, but for you guys.
Love that. I love that. I always find that one of the biggest motivators for success in the U.S. is the fact that you came to this country to seek a better life for yourself and your children. And I love when I see that it's extended to the next generation, because a lot of times what you have is the first generation, because they struggled, they have an incredible drive. They'll work at a gas station for 80 years until they die. But their children having things given to them on a silver platter, they lose that motivation immediately and don't search for a deeper meaning or purpose in why they're here and the opportunity they were given. And they drop the ball, and it's very, very ugly because someone just risked their entire life, their comfort, their peace of mind, their connection to their land, their people, their family, to give you a better life. And here you are, lost in a world that is meaningless and doesn't give back to anybody. So I love when I see stories like yours where not only do you appreciate them, but you want to give back, and you're giving back to them and to the country, because you're part of a big corporation. You're leading people. Every one of these people that you lead, if you were a bad boss, you would be the reason why they try to go to a liquor store after and binge themselves because they hate their boss, or they hate their life, or they feel like, a lot of bosses use fear as a tactic, some making you feel insecure about the longevity of your career with this company and making you on this hamster wheel of fear. And unfortunately it is effective because, it gets people working, but very unhealthy mentally to keep people in that state. So I really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I relate with you is, how you said that somebody coached you in front of people. Yep. In my last job, I remember I was telling him about my aspirations of like being a photographer and stuff. Yeah. And he told me a story about his brother trying to do that, how it didn't work out, and he should have just stayed at a corporate job. And he was trying to tell me, so just stay, man. Like, just don't chase it. And luckily for me, I have that like belief. I was like, no, I'm going to make this happen. And I left and I did what I did. But now I think about that, and I was like, if I was in his position as a good leader, I would have probably told him, like, chase it. And if it doesn't work out, you always have a job here. Come back and I will hire you back and we will build you up. But for now, go chase that dream and see how it goes. If you would have told me that, man, I would have probably showed up, a few times after everything went well and like, hey, man, it worked out, blah, blah, blah. Took him out for dinner, whatever, But I feel like, some people have this like different ways of, they think of being a leader is good. But yeah, it's good to see that you have like this, I'm just always curious to see where you get it from, because I'm always intrigued of like reading those kind of books just to be able to kind of put it in my own personal life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it all goes, tough conversations are going to happen. Right. Whether it's good or bad. And so I think, to me, when I think about tough conversations, like I want to come from a place of care and love for the person, whether it's going to be tough or not. Right? Maybe it's a good conversation that we're going to have, and it's like, motivated. You're doing a great job. Like, let's continue this. Like, how do I help you? Like, what do you need from me? And there's conversations where, there's some rough patches, and it's going to happen. And so even in those tough conversations, you can still come from a place of care.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, there's a crossroad in the road, and something's gotta change. Like, there's always going to be a place of care. And that's important, because like when you talk about fear, that type of leadership I don't do well with. And a lot of people don't do well with, right? We need to come from a place of care, and fear was like the old motto. The old school leadership is fear, and how you talk to people, and everything's straight up, and you got to go do this, and that's no longer the way that you lead people, and it probably wasn't back then either. I think people were just more accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And so I think leadership has changed. It's not about like whether you're a boss or not. It's just because you have the title of being a boss doesn't mean people will follow you. And it's a lot of times it's what you do for them, what you've done for the company, the reputation that you have, and like how you help them continue to be better leaders. That's what people want.
I love that. I do want to ask you, you're very, you're very eloquent. You're very gentle. But I do know that, like you said, there are uncomfortable conversations that have to be had. What was it like the first time you had to fire somebody?
Oh man.
Hey, you were gonna ask him his salary. We'll get there.
Well, actually, next question. Actually, salary first.
Man, the first time was tough because I wasn't comfortable with like sitting there and when you have to do that and you're young in your career, like, or even at any time, you have to do that. Somebody's gonna lose something, whether it be their job or if they depend on this, like it's tough. But I'll say this, and when you get to that conversation, a lot of times it shouldn't be a surprise. And if it is a surprise, then you've done something wrong. And I think that's important to take into account, right? There's other reasons why people get let go in any job.
Yeah.
But if it's performance based and you get to that point where it's the day that you let that person go and they're surprised by it, you failed as a leader in communicating and in being clear. And they obviously don't understand their role and what they did. So a lot of times, when you think about like developing somebody or helping them along with some challenging times, the first, couple months are more coaching. Like you're a mentor, you're helping them. And then it gets to a point where it's like, maybe they're not understanding or they're not, capable of like accomplishing what you're looking out to. And so those conversations are already tough in itself. And there's going to be uncomfort in them. And so I think, if you get to that stage and they don't know, or it's a surprise, you haven't done your job.
And what would laying the foundation for a firing somebody in a conversation? How do you not make it a surprise? Is my question. What is that? What is the lead up? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it's clear is kind. You being clear in your conversations is kind. And so when you talk to leaders that are under you that are maybe not accomplishing the things that you guys have set out to do, you have to be clear in your expectations of them. You have to be clear in their core roles. And it always goes back to your core role. Like, hey, these are the things that the company has set out for you to accomplish. Like, how are we going to get there? And to be honest, it's consistent communication. So if you're not consistently having communications of like, hey, let's set out this goal. And by in the next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about this again. And I want you to try these 3 things. And then next time they come, it's like, hey, how did it go? And sometimes it's like, wow, it went great. They're like, thanks for the feedback. Like, this is one thing that I'm super excited about doing. And then you continue on with that. And maybe it's a different conversation. Maybe it's like, hey, we didn't accomplish those 3 things. So like, what do you think you have to do differently in the future to lead better or have better routines to accomplish this?
Yes, I love that. So again, I'm always drawing. I have, this is a big part of my business. It's a rental podcast studio. I'm the boss. I can tell people to come. I can tell people not to come. I don't have to clash with anybody or compete with anybody in any part of my business. The only time I do experience the butting of heads, in a sense, would be the wedding space, because it's no longer the fact that I'm the boss. It's like there's a wedding venue, there's a wedding coordinator, if I'm doing just video, there's a photographer. And I feel like whenever you're speaking about all these things, I'm drawing an analogy into the wedding space, because that's the only time I experience a competition and having to work in a field where there are multiple conflicting interests. There's people that have different goals and motives, and they don't always necessarily line up, right? Yeah. So I, as a filmmaker, I want the lighting and the video to look amazing at the expense of everything else. In a dream world, I can have the entire wedding be staged just to get a beautiful wedding video, right? Yeah. But at the same time, there's the motive of the couple, which is we want to remember and enjoy this day.
Yeah.
And then there's a photographer who wants to get everyone's photo with the couple and the family photos. They're going to pause 1 hour of the day just for that thing. And then there's a wedding venue that doesn't want your light stands out. So everyone has a different motive, right? I feel like the biggest primal instinct that comes out in these scenarios where you're working amongst people that is very negative is the ego.
Yeah.
As a leader, what do you do to address the ego of your team?
It takes, when it's how you lead. It's you. How are you the example for your team? because how you lead, people start to follow. And so if you're if you have a lot of ego as a leader, people start to feed off that. And it creates the hostile environment for people, like we talked about before, like not being able to make decisions, scared to make mistakes, because it's like if I make a wrong mistake, somebody's going to reprimand me. And then people can't think for themselves. And so when you're building up leaders around you, you address it. And we talk about being clear as kind. Well, that's even more important in those conversations. And sometimes when you see things happen, a lot of people just say, "Oh, we'll brush it off." We'll brush it off. But it's important to just be open, and that's how you build trust with your team. Is you're open, like, "Hey, I saw, we were in a meeting, and this other team member like had a hostile conversation. Like, where does that come from?" Like, you address it in the moment, and you see a leadership attribute where that's coming out, you address it. But how you lead, people will follow, and so they start to look at you and how you respond to different situations under pressure, and people start to value that and start to do that. And start to pick up on your attributes as well.
Love that. I love that. So in the corporate world, there's a professional, highly educated approach to the ego. Mm-hmm. And you said that people follow your example. People that are seeking leadership in their personal lives outside of a corporate space, which is finding like online coaches, these gurus online trying to sell you courses. These are people that are seeking leadership. And unfortunately, the ones that do get popular for ego-driven goals. It's the way his body looks and how he talks about his body, about his cars, about his life. And they've essentially based a platform on egotistical goals. Like, you want to be like this guy. You want to be the big shot guy in a suit that pulls up and like books a whole stadium. Everyone comes and pays you. And they build a brand based upon ego. For these people that are signing up for these online courses or, signing up for this type of leadership, what issues do you feel like they're going to face in their career?
I think a lot of, it's hard to go online and know that person that you're following or watching, it's hard to connect. And I think there's always leaders that are around us that are more than capable of teaching us from their mistakes. People that have paved the way, that have done things that you're interested in doing. And so, like, for you, like, if you're getting into videography, what would you do? Find somebody that has done it, that has a following, that's really good and has a good reputation. And so, I think there are, a lot of books out there that are amazing, right? And I think we can learn a lot from the people that are around us that have paved the way. And so I look at, there's a few leaders that come to mind right away when I think about great leaders, and I was like, I want to be like them. And there's great things I'll take from and things I won't, right? But like, if I have a question and even within Target, there's so many people that I look up to and I call them. I'm like, "Hey, I'm facing this issue. Like, what can I do differently? How can I lead my team differently? Like, what would you do in this situation?" And then you have people that are around you, and maybe your peers, that someone that's really good at something. So you start picking up from the people that are around you, and I think that that's important in itself, right? And there's obviously outside ways that you can gain the leadership. And I talked about reading the book Good to Great, and there's so many books that are out there that are good, and you start to reflect on like the things that you do on a day-to-day basis and how you can change your own personal leadership in the way that you treat people, in your routines, in the behaviors that you have, and how you react. So there's so many different ways to do that. And so I think I find people that are great at what they do, that I admire, and those are the people that I want to follow. And so those are the people I go to when I need support.
Love that. I love that. Well said. Yeah. I feel like it's almost like the dating scene. A lot of girls say that, I end up with the wrong guys, or I'm always with a toxic, manipulative guy. It's the same as these online courses. They attracted you because they have all the bells and whistles. So you like the guy on the Harley Davidson with the leather jacket and the hair flying. You're attracted to that guy. And that's how he gets the attention from the women, but he doesn't necessarily have the right leadership in a sense to offer in a relationship, and you end up in the wrong corner. I think, yeah, in addition to what you said, I think also like not following the glittery things sometimes, the things that are flashy, especially online. Flashy things are meant to attract you. That's all they're meant to do. They don't necessarily indicate the value or substance in something. And yeah, I love the way that you said, like, it's based on trust and a track record. You need to always look at trust and an actual track record of what this person has accomplished, what type of business he's following, what his reputation is. Don't just go after the glittery gold side of things. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you went that route with relationship stuff, because while you're speaking, a lot of it sounds like a marriage.
Yeah.
Like everything that you said can be used in your marriage, as far as like the whole expectation aspect of it all. All right, let's get back to this within this time frame, see how we both did and stuff like that. The ego stuff. Is that something that you also bring to the house, maybe that you worked on with your marriage?
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it a lot together, right? We're rowing together. And so there's going to be mistakes that you make. That's just innate in how we do. We're humans.
Not her. She's perfect though.
She's perfect. Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
Let's be careful, bro. I want to be able to hear this podcast.
It's close. And so, she's taught me how to be a better dad. That in itself, I know. She's a teacher, so she has that nurturing side. She knows how to teach kids. She knows their tendencies, and a lot of times I follow her lead in that. And so when she tells me, hey, we have to do this with our kids, I'm like, okay, let's try it. I'm willing to do it. We got to have this routine. Like, let's do it. And I've seen a lot of growth in myself in that way, and in trusting somebody else to kind of lead me in that situation. And there's a lot of ways that I lead in the house, right? And we talk a lot about her work and my work. And I love having those conversations because I get to listen. And a lot of times when you're in a leadership role, people think that you always have to speak. But the more that you speak, the less impactful you are. And so you have to do, and you guys do a good job at this, right? You ask questions and you listen. And a lot of people, like a lot of leaders, feel like they have to fill the space, and you don't have to fill the space. And a great leader, a great motivator, is someone that's able to ask questions and let the person that's in front of them talk through. And a lot of us, like me, need someone to ask me questions so I can process, and that's how I process. And we're in my relationship with her, we're the same way. And so we do a lot of that.
I love that, bro. I love how you broke down that part of needing to fill the space, because that applies to so many things. That applies to relationships where, like, if you're new to the dating scene and you're trying to meet a girl, you want to impress her, you want to be loud, but like it just makes you look funny. You look clowny when you do that. It's in sales. When you're trying to sell something, like when I first got into filmmaking, I do amazing videos and like I'm so reactive, and like you said, I want to fill the space, and it's an immediate turnoff. Same thing applies to leadership, where if you always want to be the one talking and making the PowerPoints and being the funny guy, and you do all the stuff, and you end up looking clowny and ineffective.
Yeah.
There's so much, and the listening part I'm learning through the podcast, like, because I, even before the Visionary Circle podcast, I've hosted podcasts for my clients, and I've learned about the strength and value of a host that knows when to be silent and how to be in a complete state of listening, and how the best hosts out there are the ones that steer the conversation direction with the question and completely step back and be as neutral as possible. And they create a safe space for the person to speak. They reveal so much information about the person there. It's a very effective way to come off as more influential, more competent, more charismatic, more valuable. Yeah. A really cool quote that comes to mind is that to be interesting, you have to be interested.
Yep.
To just share curiosity, to show your appreciation for somebody and step back and give them that spotlight, you as an outcome of that become an interesting person.
Yep.
People want to get to know you. And there's so many times I saw this growing up with like a bunch of people that would have YouTube channels where they interview people, or they do the industry interviews with people. Yeah. One of the guys that comes to mind is Nardwar. I don't know if you ever heard of Nardwar. Nardwar is this very zany, quirky character that is obsessed with celebrities and musicians.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with interviews. He'll go, and if he hears that Kanye West is in New York, he'll drive his car to New York, and he'll have memorabilia. He'll have the first signed autograph picture from Kanye West that he bought on a train ride somewhere. Like, he'll collect things about every celebrity and questions and information, like very personal information, and use it in an interview with them, and he blows their mind, right? And I always thought that, like, it was so cool. Then Nardwuar became a celebrity.
Yeah.
And and then one day I sat down, I'm like, dude, this Nardwuar guy became a celebrity. How is he so famous? His YouTube channel, every video gets millions of views. And I was like, damn, all he did, he didn't say a word about himself. In the thousands of interviews he's done, he's never said a word about himself. All he's done is share his curiosity and passion for people. And through that, as a proxy, he became a celebrity. Yeah. And he became popular. Have you ever seen Nardwuar stuff?
No.
Like, you guys got to see Nardwuar stuff.
Well, I'll check it out.
So the way his interviews are no longer than 5 minutes each, but if we're talking Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Pharrell Williams, like every Nicki Minaj, like anybody you can imagine celebrity-wise, he's interviewed, and their jaw drops in the experience because he does so much research. And he'll bring up what their nickname was in like 3rd grade, or what their first pet was, or like really quirky insider information that he's obsessed with, and he just makes it sound amazing.
Yeah, we watch that. You watch Mo.
Yeah,
I gotta watch Mo.
Exactly.
I gotta watch Mo, man. That guy's I hear so much about him. I just have a really short attention span. And as much as I'm practicing listening, bro, I'm a radio. I can't shut up. So it's like,
no, you're doing great.
Yeah, it's a job for me to sit there and let someone else talk.
It's not easy. It's not easy. I have to practice that.
Yeah.
And especially with like my team or my peers, like I need to practice asking questions. Because at the end of the day, like if you're talking, it's not helping the environment. And when you're interviewing someone or when you're coaching someone, if you're talking the whole time, you're not able to, process what they're going to say or how they're thinking through it. So you can't problem solve with them.
Yes.
And people love talking about themselves anyways. So you just ask them a couple of questions. They'll get comfortable.
100%. And then when I'm speaking, there's no way for me to guarantee that you're engaged. The way I can guarantee that you guys are engaged is when you guys are speaking. When you're speaking, I know you're 100% engaged in the podcast because your brain has nowhere else to go. You can't be multitasking in your brain. Versus if I'm speaking, there's probably like parts of the conversation where, kind of like what's happening with Sergio right now, you're like, damn it, Leo does not shut up.
We're putting him to sleep.
Yes.
Just Leo.
He'll listen to you, and then as soon as I talk, he'll just go for a little nap. But yeah.
I'm just messing.
Fadi, I can't thank you enough for this. This is an eye-opener for me. I have officially changed my attitude about the corporate world. I'm gonna stop talking shit. No, really, like I honestly always had this opinion about the corporate world, and just seeing how passionate you are about what you do, how much you've developed and grown as an individual. It has not turned you into a soulless drone. It has turned you into a very distinguished individual who has a narrative, who has a story, who's impacting your children, you're impacting your parents, you're impacting everyone around you. You've impacted us and our viewers today with your outlook on life and your experience. And I feel like that's I'm surprised to learn that I can find this in the corporate world. And it's maybe one day get hired by a company and start doing something like that.
We'll bring you on, Leo.
Yeah.
Am I getting hired?
Target, bro.
We got you.
I'm very happy as well that you came and you told us that side of the whole corporate world, because behind the scenes, there's people that actually care.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I love the saying of like the internet's not real, because man, there's just so many people in there that just hate on anything, and it could be the greatest thing, and then they just find something to be negative about. And even like, for example, and just because we were just talking about it earlier, like for example, Disney gets a lot of hate. Mm-hmm. And they did a documentary on them making Frozen 2, and I've probably seen that thing like 2 or 3 times on Disney Plus. But I watch it because you can tell that these artists and the directors and everybody that's a part of it is putting their complete energy, sweat, tear, like everything into it to make sure that they make something amazing for us. Yeah. And I'm sure they do that across the board with everything. And I'm sure Target tries to do that, like having you there to make sure that the customer has an amazing experience. So when there's people that go in there and they crap on it, these people don't care. Target doesn't care. All they want is your money, and Target just wants this, or Disney just wants all of that. And it's like, dude, do you understand that there's people behind the scenes that care so much about you, and they're trying to make you have a great experience, but in your mind, you're so negative, and you just think, So I'm glad that you brought that energy and that kind of like perspective, that there's people like you that want to bounce around and try to fix whatever is there to fix, and to have an experience not only for the people that work there, because it's always amazing when you go somewhere. And now I'm the one talking a lot.
No, I love it. It's amazing. Good. It's amazing.
When you go somewhere and you can tell that the person there behind the counter or walking around the store has a great attitude, and you're no longer afraid to just ask one simple question, right?
Yes.
And
Where's
so,
the bathroom? No,
yeah. No, I know where Target is easy. Easy, bro.
It's set up for you guys.
Yeah, it's already there. But that's always a great feeling, because you can go somewhere else and you're just like, man, this person doesn't care. Like, they don't really want to be here. Like, and then you start questioning, like, why do you even work here, bro? You're not even happy. Yeah. But that could be because of leadership.
Yeah, it starts with who you know, and Target does a good job of who they bring onto the team. And so when you look at, when you walk into a store, like, people are there intentionally. And so it starts with leadership and it goes all the way down. So if you have a great leader, then you have great executives, and then so on and so forth. People are going to be excited to work there. And so when you're happy working somewhere, you love what you do, right? You do these podcasts, you do videography, you guys love that. And so you're passionate about it, so you give a good product. Similarly to leadership, if you're passionate about people, if you're passionate about operations, and you love working, in that environment, and you treat people right, you're gonna get that all the way through in the experience that the people that come in your house. It's like, when you have your families all together and you guys are having a great time, right? And there's no bickering, and so a guest walks in and they feel that environment, they feel 100%. That excitement. Yeah. So when they walk in, they're like, "Oh, I'm comfortable. I enjoy this. Let's be together." Yeah. And so it's the environment that you build with the people that are around you that create that experience.
Yeah, I love that, brother. This is going to be one of many episodes with Fadi. 100,000%.
Maybe we could bring your uncles in.
Hey, bring them
let's do a family gathering.
That would be amazing. We wouldn't have to say anything. They just go off.
We'll be the guests.
So good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming, brother. I know it's a long drive out, but you're officially part of the Visionary Circle podcast family. You've offered us so much value today, and there's so much more to come.
I appreciate you guys.
Before you go,
yes,
is there any and I know you mentioned a few books, but any book that you may recommend to the audience, to us, that you would recommend for us as far as for leadership or anything that would help?
Good to Great. Okay. Don't ask me who the author is, but I can't remember. Good to Great is a great one. And then there's a book called Grass is Greener, and that one is a great book too. That one I read with my team, and we always talk about grass is not greener on the other side.
Yes.
And so lo and behold, grass is green where you water it. So it's you bringing that. So I think that book was really good.
Cool. Thank you.
1,000%. I appreciate it. Well, actually, I have one last question too. So you know how big companies, they do things that you would never anticipate, like Google has like shacks in the airport that they do certain. What are fun little quirky things that Target's little projects they've done, or services that you get, or anything weird about Target that we might not know exists?
Oh man, Target does a lot, and there's a huge push on the online shopping, and so there's a lot of ways to bring loyalty to our guests, and that's through, a lot of times it's through online. And so you can be a Target Circle member. You get 5% on each purchase. You get free shipping. I mean, you get that. You're in the Target gang, and so that's a huge one. And a lot of your discounts come through there. So
start buying stuff online from Target.
You don't have to go online.
Okay.
But on the actual app, there's all the sales happen there, and so you can go into a store, you'll still get the same experience, but a lot of times you can shop online all you want, but we want you guys to come in. We want to see you guys.
Yes. I'll give you a perfect example of that 5% off thing. There was a product that I wanted to get, and it was like one of the brand new products, so every store had it, but Target was the only one that I have a membership with, or it's free. It's not even a paid thing, and I was able to get 5% off of that brand new product. So I bought it through there.
Wow.
And you'll get specified discounts. Like if you're coming to shop, you'll get push discounts for yourself, like things that are on sale just specifically for you. So it's a great way to shop at the store for sure.
Mm-hmm.
App has been downloaded, brother.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
You guys are both amazing, and We're all practicing the asking questions. You guys do a good job, so I get to learn a little bit and how you guys do it today too.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, guys, and we will see you on the next episode.